Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
Life is made up of many gorgeous moments. Cherish them all, big and small, with Blue Nile. Whether it's for yourself or a loved one, Blue Nile's unrivaled selection of expertly crafted fine jewelry and statement pieces help make all your moments sparkle. Blue Nile's experts are on hand to guide you, and their diamond guarantee ensures you get the highest quality at the best price. Celebrate a life well lived in the most radiant way and save up to 30% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
O'Reilly. You need parts? O'Reilly Auto Parts has parts. Need them fast? We've got fast. No matter what you need, we have thousands of professional parts people doing their part to make sure you have it. Product availability. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
It's really cool.
Bonjour, hello, and welcome to the Rosbifs Rugby Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things French rugby. And we're back to talk about the top 14, Pro de Nationale, the wonderful towns, cities, bars, restaurants, phenomenal French fans that make the French game so excellent. Rob, you're looking tanned. You're back from your holidays.
Am I?
Pit stop in Europe. Well, you're not looking that tanned, but I thought I'd try and segue in.
I look quite washed out, if anything.
How was it? How was your trip to?
It was bloody great, to be honest. I haven't quite gone full. Oh, Italy's better than France, like you did after your wedding or the wedding you went to in Lake Maggiore. Partly because the wedding cake was millefeuille, so little nod to the French there, and obviously I devoured more than just seconds of that. Although a lot of digestif was consumed. I had a lot of amaro, which they had the Amaro Averna, which is the Sicilian one, which you kind of see. You can't actually find it in the UK. But then I found out that from speaking to the groom, who was Italian, each region of Italy has its own Amaro with its own blend of herbs. So I would liken Amaro to kind of somewhere between Chartreuse, Jägermeister type thing, and the kind of orangey bitterness of Aperol. So I'd say it's quite nice. I think you would like it.
Is Amaro... Is Chinar, is that a version of Amaro?
Is that the artichoke one?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it is. I think it's quite similar, but I don't think it's technically an Amaro.
Oh, nice. And a millefeuille cake, that sounds... I'm amazed you've made it back, I'll be honest with you.
Well, I did miss my bus. I saw it leave, so it was a little bit touch and go. I managed to avoid... I gambled on getting the later bus, which gave me less than an hour at Milan airport, which was pretty tight. But it was either that or a €170 taxi in cash, which I didn't quite fancy.
Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough.
What did you get up to over the weekend?
Oh, mate, I've just been sort of living the amateur rugby sleuth dream, to be honest. I'm feeling very positive about the game, about the state of rugby. I was actually back home over the weekend. So for the listeners who no reason why they should know, but I'm from Suffolk, so I was back in the Shire over the weekend. Caught some decent rugby. Watched some of the Premiership on Friday. Bit of a classic, Bristol Gloucester all kicking off. Then took myself down to Ipswich Rugby Club, where one of my mates from school is still captain of the first 15. They put 94 points on Ely, which was a bit of a hammering. The poor Ely lads. I think it was the equivalent of like some of those cricket games we've played, where like the first team all rounder is getting married and you beg, borrowing, and stealing to get people in. I think there are a couple of guys who haven't played for about 20 years, but yeah, so that was good. Ipswich Rugby Club as well. I don't know if you saw this, but two current top 14 players have recently played for. Oh, you haven't been keeping an eye on Rosbifs Twitter, Rob. Okay, we'll start with a little start for 10 then. Two current top 14 players played. Well, they're fairly recent on the honours board. So who you
Lewis Ludlam.
Lewis Ludlam is correct.
And I know that you've said in the past that he's from Suffolk. Alex Moon.
Correct, yeah. Alex Moon and Lewis Ludlam. So I actually, and guess one other name on the honours board, which is quite astonishing. Martin Offiah played for Ipswich Rugby Club in his youth. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I put a tweet out with the honours board, and I had 2 likes on, and you can still see your likes on Twitter, or X rather, and of the honours board, and it was from Aaron Ludlam and John Moon. So
oh wow.
So shout out to Big John, Big Aaron, honorary Rosbifs now. Hopefully they've been getting out to buy on Toulon to watch their boys. Probably a slight change up from Franklin's Gardens. And there was also a lovely, which I took a photo of, a shirt with orange as the sponsor, RC Arras, which is sort of somewhere in northern France. Very cool old shirt adorning the wall. So yeah, lovely to get back to the countryside, but invariably couldn't leave the French rugby behind entirely.
How was the, how did the atmosphere compare to Cast? What was the welcome of the fans like? Were there flares? Was there foghorns? Was there drums?
There are a couple of tractors. And there were a couple of fairly inebriated old boys. There'd been some sort of old boys lunch, and there were, when I went to the bar sort of just before kickoff, there were a few blokes polishing off the last dregs of port and looking to get onto the 2 for £5 Jaeger bombs.
Right.
Not the Amaro bombs, but something similar, a similar digestif. But a good day out, and actually I've been once before to watch Jake. It's a really fantastic clubhouse. Feeling positive about rugby and about life. So yeah,
nice.
On to the real serious business.
I was waiting for an imaginative segue. I was like, how are you going to segue from Ipswich Rugby Club to Stade Francais?
There is no way. Although, Humberdoosey Lane, which is Ipswich's home ground, Fortress, Ernest Vallon Fortress, or was it?
Longer, yeah.
You saw a little bit of this, you said, but we're struggling a bit with Milfoy lag from your time in Italy. Fantastic, lovely way to spend a Sunday evening, fend off the Sunday scaries. It's a bit of a belter. What did you see before you kind of drifted off into?
I'll be honest, I don't remember much. Even though I've watched it about 4 times, I think it was kind of actually just listening with my eyes kind of peeled shut, if that's a word. But I remember Blair Kinghorn did something good.
Shock. I feel like you could have worked that out at any point. Yeah, look, it was a brilliant game. So for those who haven't seen, Union Bordeaux Beg ended a 33 match winning streak in the top 14 at the Stade Ernest Vallon, winning 16-12.
2 years, had they?
It's a fair old stretch. I can't remember the last team who beat them. But it was a brilliant game. It was by no means perfect. It was two sides who kind of went hammer and tong, and maybe a little bit more up the jumper and a little bit more control might have sort of made it a little bit, I don't know, a little bit clearer one way or other. But it was a hell of a game to watch. And Bordeaux, fair play to them. I think the 2 things that really stood out for me, one was that they kind of really stay true to themselves and how they want to play, in spite of leaving out Deporter, Buros and Penaud. which is going to make a dent in any side. And they stayed true. Jalibert is looking so good.
Yeah,
so much time.
I remember him and Luku looking great.
They did, and to be fair, Entomac, like the two of them, just so much control. And so they were sharp. They didn't try and change to be pragmatic until arguably the last sort of 5-10 minutes when it looked like they might let it slide. And up front, they were undoubtedly kind of boshed about a bit, but really hung in there against a pretty big, well, as we know, a very big Toulouse pack. And they didn't have their way at scrum time at all. They didn't I wouldn't say they got the nudge on in any area in particular, but they just were really dogged. And Johnny Gray and Boschaton were, I think, kind of exemplified that.
Johnny Gray has been brilliant over the last few weeks. Cyril Cazo as well. They were I know that he kind of was on the bench, but the combination of those three in some way, usually with Johnny Gray in there, but kind of rotating Cazo and Boschaton, the line-out's working brilliantly as well. You can kind of almost see that he's had an influence, because he's a pretty experienced customer and a real technician at the set piece, and that does seem to have come across already.
Yeah, it was excellent. It was a sort of always, I guess, seen as one of those sort of slightly unheralded, do the dirty work players. But if you actually keep an eye out for it, and he's got a slightly more distinctive scrum cap on these days, so he is spottable. He was just everywhere. It was a fabulous performance for a bloke who's only played 4 games since he's come back from that massive layoff. Boschaton, I think this is his 3rd start in the second row, and they
looks bigger every time I see him.
Yeah, looks bigger. It's that
he grows, not just physically, but he's growing in height, I think.
It's those 3 pints behind the hostel bar.
Yeah.
They went toe-to-toe with Miafu and Flamand and were great. And 2 other guys who I thought were fabulous before we talk about the star man were Retier against his old club was awesome. Just everywhere, that kind of real nuggety performance. And Pete Samu, I think it was his first game of the season, played at 7.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And it was mega physical and really took it to the Toulouse back row, who I think when he's not playing, you forget just how extraordinarily influential Jack Willis is, because the rucks were a real mess. But the star of the show, who looked like he was playing another game at points, was slightly out of position, was Louis Biel-Bierre at 15, who was masterful pretty much from the get-go, as was, to be fair, Thomas Ramos. Everything good that came through Toulouse in the second half was pretty much through him. It was
and he set up the try in the first half, didn't he? A bit of pace on the outside.
Yeah, real pace. You've said this before. He's much quicker than he looks, Thomas Ramos.
You forget how quick he is, and then he just clicks into gear and he just cruises past people. And I don't quite think that's like a just because he obviously has an immense amount of time on the ball, but I genuinely think he is quite quick because he gets outside people really easily.
Yeah, and it's, as you say, it's the sort of turn from a standing start. But it was a wicked performance. It's no mean feat at all to go there. I wouldn't say it avenges the defeat in the final, but it's certainly, having rested a few guys as well, and the likes of Tamafuna still to return, albeit obviously Toulouse have still got a couple of guys out. I think it's a real statement win, and fair play to Yannick Brew, and it clearly meant a lot at the end. It was a big moment for them, I think.
And it was full noise Toulouse. Like, it wasn't. I mean, Willis is injured. Obviously, Tony D is flirting with the NFL. I was about to say IPL then. That would be a shock.
Mystery spin.
I'd love to see him have a go. But yeah, they kind of haven't got any huge injuries. Jelonch obviously kind of coming back, but that looked like a pretty full strength team. Barassi seems to have got the nod over. Cost? No, he's not injured. Barassi seems to have got. Aki was brilliant again. I mean,
he was great.
That's almost like my Blair Kinghorn comment. Blair Kinghorn did something good. Peter Aki was great both sides of the ball. I think you might as well just insert here every week.
Yeah, he nailed Van Rensburg in the first half. I don't know if you saw that. Who also had a brilliant game and feels like a lovely option for Bordeaux to have if they decide they want to be a little bit more direct. Because Mo Ofana was they're just good and they look like they've got options as well. Wicked game, wicked way to spend a Sunday evening. Top of the league, Ube Bay, bottom of the league.
You actually, I think you had an excellent round on the predictions.
Called it.
You didn't get all of them right though because you didn't get Montpellier. Well, you said Montpellier, didn't you? But I think you got everything else.
Nearly did though.
No, we both went for Racing, didn't we?
Yeah, we'll come on to those in just a sec. So previously bottom of the league though, team quite close to your heart. USAP, big win at the Stade M. Giral.
I went for Clermont in this one. Looks a bit silly now, doesn't it? Yeah.
Fair. They look really sharp from the bits I saw.
Yeah, I mean the scoreline suggests the stuff I read was I had a brief flick through Rugby Rama when I got bored this afternoon, and it was kind of very much that Clermont were just kind of didn't really turn up and kind of were pretty ineffectual. Their big forwards didn't really do much. First start for Barnaby Massa, I don't know if you saw it. How did he go?
He didn't stand out. I can't say I had much of an eye on him. He probably was all right. But I think one of the big bits of news coming out. In this game as well. Our sevens man Jefferson Lee Joseph.
Yeah,
another sort of own goal style from Erda Paget. Not quite the Niniashvili the week before, but basically track back and sort of flip the ball inside. Kind of a cross between Niniashvili and the Sam James one a couple of weeks ago. Where he just pops it up. It was, good to see. But Basolo Tuolangi is looking at 6 months out, is it?
Yeah, 5 to 6 months I saw.
Which
is
broken
arm.
Just such a shame on so many levels. And without being sort of flippant about it, how do you break that guy's arm? Like it's wild. I mean, Billy Vunipola had it, didn't he, for a long time?
He had loads, yeah.
But yeah, sad because I think he's just he's like a proper, not just at Perpignan. I mean, he's kind of the name at Perpignan despite his tender years, and he's like a bit of a draw card for the entire league, really. But yeah, it's just a real shame. You hope it's nothing that's going to affect him long term because he's got many years. But yeah, bit of
I wonder how big he's going to be when he comes back.
Large. comes back as a little nippy 9.
Yeah, wastes away.
No, I
imagine he can still do leg weights, so he could get even bigger.
That's quite a big blow.
That's quite a big blow. That, but they're going to get Oviedo back now, so at least they're getting a forward carrier back. But yeah, I mean, defensively, the game we saw, he was brilliant as well. So
he was great.
It's just a big shame.
Real shame, but good for USAP getting off the mark.
Weird old performance from Clermont, like to just having gone like quite well to just be dreadful. Yeah,
it feels like that.
That's just French rugby, isn't it?
Maybe they haven't moved on quite as much as we'd thought.
Yeah,
there were two other games which were 1 point margins. So one we mentioned we both got wrong, Racing, which things seem to be going from bad to worse, were within a minute or 10 seconds of getting a win in a slightly empty looking Crete. Teddy Aribren, other ideas, nice little nudged it over from I think clock in the red or nearly in the red, but that's a bit of a sucker punch for them, isn't it? Racing.
Yeah. I think I didn't quite fully bother to translate the headline, but there was a little bit of the gist I got was it was a little bit of a 2 fingers up from Teddy Aribren to Racing.
Of course, yeah.
All of Racing's points were scored by Nolan Garrett.
Yeah.
Faz clearly not kicking.
Yeah, strange. It's strange. Maybe I don't know. Maybe LeGarrick's is his kicking just immense or
no? Because it was Tedder when Tedder was playing last year.
Strange, very strange. So yeah, Racing in all sorts, really. I was very much on the side of I don't think their start's been quite as bad, and arguably they're pretty close here to it would be a decent win when they're out of form, but yeah, conspiring against them. Apparently, I don't know how true this is. Saw a rumor earlier that they're trying to line up Jack Conan as a replacement for Sia Khaleesi.
Wow, that'd be cool.
I mean, which would be very cool and would be a hell of a signing, but it seems quite, I don't know, it seems a bit unlikely if you ask me.
Yeah.
We shall see. The other one...
Facts are facts. They are 12th. So
they are 12th, yeah. And another team that just scraped by at 1 point, who have now won 2 and therefore I think are 10th, 9th. Bayonne scraped past Montpellier again in the last minute. Well, 2 things here. One, it was great to see Luke Taggy and his baggy shorts back. Just the size of those shorts is something
baggy,
else.
But not baggy. Like they're baggy around the knee, but then they're so tight around the bum and thigh.
It's a hell of a look. Yeah, sort of relaxed fit through the knee, but athletic fit up top.
Board shorts. They're proper board shorts.
What a bloke! What I'd love to see a pair of those shorts in the flesh. Yeah,
he is enormous.
He's a big unit. So Bayonne's great at having been 15-0 up, and then Montpellier come back into it. Lenny Nucci very much at the forefront with a try and a break, or 2 tries, I think, or one set up another break from halfway. Either way, he's fucking class. What do you think about where Bayonne are at the moment? A club I know you're a fan of.
The 2 games they've won at home are against relatively poor sides, let's be honest. And I think you look at the other games and there's enough to be worried about the way because they got torn apart by Pau at the end. And really, they kind of got played off. They didn't show up against Clermont. So jury's still out. I think, I kind of mentioned it pre-season, are they going to get into a little bit of a too many cooks with Lopez and Sagons? Because Lopez is the man. Like, he kind of proved it in this game. But they obviously are aware that he's getting on in age, and you don't bring in the starting fly half from a club like Stade Francais if you're a club like Bayonne and not play him. I don't think you've got to think that's on a decent wedge. Yeah. What about you? What do you think of them? Because
I'm kind of with you on both of those. I think the thing that's worrying for them is that this sort of invincibility that they seem to have at home, regardless who turned up, has faded pretty rapidly. They obviously, I think it was near the end of last season, they lost to Bordeaux, which was the first league game at home they'd lost in, similar to Toulouse, right? It was tens of games.
2022, it was January 2022.
It was a fair old stretch, yeah. And they crept past La Rochelle, and now they're sort of, I don't know, they're sneaking past Perpignan and then Montpellier. Yeah, I mean, they've got injuries. Also, there's an argument to say, like, they're 2 from 4. They haven't played anyone particularly special, but they're 2 from 4, and you know what? Like, that's okay.
They're still unbeaten at home.
They're still unbeaten at home, but I think they're gonna have. Yeah, it feels like they've got a bit of a way to go for me.
They're unbeaten at home. So there was actually, I saw a graphic on Instagram today that was teams unbeaten at home, because obviously it's like the first time in ages that it's not Toulouse. Their unbeaten at home is very different to Pau's unbeaten at home, because their unbeaten at home is scraping home in the last 10 minutes in both games with a penalty or a kick, whereas Pau's are attacking bonus point wins at home. So it's kind of, that's the kind of fortress that you want to be building, and like Lyon where you're racking up loads of points. I think that's the kind of home you're looking for.
So Lyon, you mentioned them there. They racked up loads of points and still nearly lost. I didn't have Cass getting anywhere near them at the Stade Yolande. Left a few out. No Papali, no Collier, no Popolan. and we're within 2 points at a team that basically don't lose at home as well. So I don't know if this was felt to me like one of those games, kind of watching back the highlights. Maybe it was just one of those slightly mad this way and that way games that can happen. And if you come out on top, then great. And Cass probably think, you know what, it's actually a point gained, a losing bonus point there. But yeah, it looked manic. There were I don't know if you
Nini
saw...
Ashvili didn't play. Did he get canned after the week before?
Oh, I
he
don't know. It was just too much mayhem. I don't think Nini Ashvili thrown into that mix would have helped anyone's blood pressure. I was watching the highlights, and one of the bit, I've written it down here. It said they were describing the Quiu try, and at some point in the commentary, the guy's gone, "Le Harlem Globetrotters." the ball was like flying all over the place, and it was Quiu on the end again. It was like proper barbarian stuff from Leon.
Three tries for him now already, I think.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. He's
3 and 4.
He knows how to get him. There was also, speaking of Harlem Globetrotters, Cass' last try was a lovely like Nakarawa into contact over the top. That you've seen it a million times from him, but it dazzles every time he does it.
Nakarawa ball.
Nakarawa ball, exactly. Le Harlem Nakarawa. And then maybe I think we're there, aren't we? Oh, Toulon dusted Van, which was a bit of a shame because Van conceded, am I reckoning, 37 points in the last 25 minutes, having actually been 19-14 up, which is
and against 14 men.
Yeah, you sort of, I don't know. Hopefully that's a kind of write off, move on, and not too much for momentum killer. Because looking at that at half
I think
time,
Toulon are good. I think Toulon are really good. I think that's what it is. I think Van are going to struggle because they were okay against Lyon, but they got the win. They were pretty decent against Stade, but we don't quite know how good Stade are. But I think the fact Toulon, you know, yes, they didn't play very well, but they only lost. They got a losing bonus point to La Rochelle. They beat Stade away, so they've had 2, in theory, pretty tough away games, and they've racked up some points at home. I think they're real good.
Proper side. And they showed it. They started to show it towards the end of last year, didn't they? Albeit it was a bit of a surprise, wasn't it? Well, it was a big surprise when La Rochelle beat them in the barrage in the end. Yeah, I think you're probably right. Maybe
they've just got so many options. Like, they really do. They've got so much strength in depth compared to some of the other teams. Like, if you look at 9, you've got, you know, one of the best 9s in the top 14 and a starting international for one of the Six Nations teams. Like, I guess Lyon have got that as well, but yeah, not quite with the firepower in the centres.
No, you're right. To round it off, then Saturday night, Pau, your boys,
yeah,
very impressive win.
I went for Stade Francais in this one.
Yeah, well, they were leading, weren't they, by a bit of a clip with about half an hour to go, and Joe Simmons MBE turned it on.
I did see the one of the supporters groups of the Section Passion, I think it was, said it was 2 different versions of Section that played in this game. It was the first half and the second half, but yeah, I think they were pretty dreadful first half. And then some of the try, because I've actually watched the highlights of this game. Well done me. Some of the tries they conceded are pretty soft.
Really soft.
I guess Gorgadze can run over any fly half from 5 meters out.
But it didn't really have to, did he? It was like parting of the Red Sea.
Absolute sick try from our boy Penny Dakawanga.
Yeah, that was nice.
Joe Jonas, like he just tiptoes along the line beautifully. Do you know what I was thinking watching Pro Day Dirt is and watch it because Colombia have got a couple of Portuguese wingers, although I think only Marta played. We haven't seen Costa Storti for Stade, have we?
No, I don't think. No, I don't think he's played.
I don't know if he's injured, but you'd have thought he'd be a shoe-in.
He was quite a big name. Yeah, he wasn't someone that looked like he was going to be a squad player. It was very much this guy. I mean, he is top drawer, isn't he? So, yeah, interesting. I don't know. I hadn't really thought of that.
But sorry, back. I got distracted there. But back to Stade, I think they're like defensively, they were pretty soft. Like the Simmons try at the end, he kind of wriggles through, but yeah, it's quite soft. I mean, I think that Atisog, nice one for both Dakawanga and Atisogbe in the week that they won awards to score some tries, but Gaetan looked pretty comfortable in his finish. It looked more like the Poe that we'd like to see a lot more of. The pack did a bit better as well, which is quite a good sign. But I think the story here is Stade capitulating, isn't it? And they've capitulated quite spectacularly over the last few days, Rich.
Well, yeah, it's today, isn't it? As a head coach, Karim Gazelle's gone. He's out the door. I've sort of looked into this a little bit and seen a few of the more learned folk in French rugby circles, what they've been saying. I think he'd possibly been approached by, as our man Ilted said, he'd been approached by Lyon or opened up a conversation there. And perhaps that was sort of the beginning of the end. But I think regardless, it's, this is a team that, what are we, 4 games into the top 14 season? This is a team that 6 games ago were on the verge of a top 14 final, having had the best defence in the league. Incredibly pragmatic style of play, they were just playing fantastic rugby. And I think people were, if not in awe, I think they were just amazed at how effective this team were last season. And with some, what we thought were some fantastic signings this year that were only going to strengthen it. I know we're only 4 games in, but there's talk of player me, the coach is out the door. It's very French. I'll say that much.
No, he did have a pop at them last season. There was a point last season I remember seeing it, and I actually on the Rugby Rama article I read, it was actually linked helpfully, but it was after, I think, the Racing game. He said, even at the age of 42, I could defend better than that, which I think is, which again is quite French. But during the off season, Laurent Lebitte took over a bit more responsibility. I think they kind of stripped Gazelle of selection responsibilities, which is interesting. And Lebitte took a bit more control of attack because that was seen as the big weakness. Yeah, the real missing piece. And even though Morgan Parra's in charge of the attack, I think Laurent Lebitte, who, let's not forget, was France attack coach in that brilliant period between 2019 and 2023, he was kind of taking the reins a bit more and adding a bit more structure. So there was an element of him being shuffled out anyway. And it seems like Laurent Lebitte holds the power, and there was just too many disagreements between him and Karim Gazelle. And also I saw the words he's lost. There's disruption in the changing rooms. So Google Translate's version of he's lost the dressing room.
He's lost the dressing room. Fair play. I mean, but it is, regardless of, I still find it's astonishing.
My immediate thought was, Jesus, that is knee jerk. But yeah, I think there might have been some stuff trickling below. Yeah, bubbling underneath the surface. And it seems like Guzzy is going to is popular in the dressing room, and it is going to take a bit more of a control. But the thing I find mental is that Karim Gazelle was like their line. He was their technical kind of line outs and forwards stuff, and skills, that stuff that they've been really good at. But yeah,
there we go. Well, this weekend they chance to get back in the saddle against Montpellier at home. I think they'd probably fancy that, wouldn't they? Perpignan play Pau. That could be interesting. Bordeaux, Bayonne. Don't know. I fear for Bayonne in that. La Rochelle play Lyon in the Sunday night game. Clermont, Toulon. The two that really interest me, I think the first one of the weekend is fascinating. Where to Racing? Where do you not want to go? I don't think you want to go and play Vannes up in Brittany. Not a lot to gain there, and they'll be really fancying it. And then to kind of bookends, so you got that as the early kickoff, and then to bookend it, I checked earlier. My boys sold out. Pierre Fabre, Casse v Toulouse.
I'm not surprised. Yeah,
big local derby. That's going to be a hell of a game because Toulouse are going to be smarting, and Castres will really, really fancy their chances. So I guess we'll just have to tuck into another supreme weekend of the top 14.
Couple of one-sided ones, couple of really intriguing ones there, I think.
Yeah.
A few more
Well,
to kind of see where we're at.
absolutely. Alrighty, bit of Pro Day there in a minute. Before we get into Pro Day 2, Nationale was back this week, everyone's favourite third-tier competition. And we've said this a little bit throughout, but it feels like the Nationale League or Nationale, whatever you want to call it, is doing its best to match Pro Day 2 in terms of tight games. So treated to a couple of absolute belters this week, with the exception of Perpignan, who hammered Bourgoin 34-0.
Yeah, nilled them.
Nilled them as well. Big club like Bourgoin, not ideal for them. Bourg-en-Bresse 30-26 against Marcon Baruel. Even better, Suresnes 39-38 victors over Tarbes. Langon beat Massy. Albi and Rouen, who obviously kind of certainly both clubs with intentions of going either straight back up or going one better than the barrage games as Albi did last year, 23-all. And Carcassonne, our new pod favourite club, came out 16-14 victors over the mountainous club, can't think of another word, Chambéry. And do you know who scored the winning points in that game? Somebody who I think played for Leicester Tigers.
Carcassonne.
Yeah.
For Leicester.
I'm pretty sure he played for Leicester. If I've made that up, then...
Johnny McPhillips.
Correct.
Was
Johnny
it?
McPhillips with the winning points. Yeah.
I didn't know he was still at Carcassonne.
He certainly is. So, yeah, Nationale is it's providing the goods yet again. So where does that lead? Does that say Chambéry will no longer
Langon
be
are doing
top?
quite well, having got promoted, aren't they?
Langon are going well, and then it's just wildly well. There's 5 points between first and eighth, so it's pretty tight up there. Chambéry second, so actually a bit of a missed opportunity for them. Perpignan flying at the top.
It's quite hard to work out who is where, though, isn't it? Because they all seem to have played different amounts of games. Although they are, this one, it says 5. The one I saw earlier was like something on Rugby Rama. It's like some of them have played 6, some of them played 7. It's like, what the hell is going on here? Because of the ER Carcaran issue.
Yeah.
All the early season contenders, but Perpignan and Chambéry are the ones that have kind of been the most consistent so far.
Yeah, Perpignan, maybe we'll come back to next week. I can't remember who it was, but they signed someone massive in the off season.
They've signed Henry Tuolangi. Is that who you're thinking of?
No, it wasn't who I'm thinking of. No.
I'm intrigued to know what relation that is. It's not Henry Tuolangi, the Henry Tuolangi's son, is it?
It could be. I mean, it feels like a fair guess. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Anyway, shall we move on? Pro Day 2.
Yes.
Where do you want to start?
Well, I'll start on the Thursday night, but just to get some colloquial or anecdotal weather from my sister, who was in France over the weekend. She was at Annecy, and I asked her, "How was your weekend?" Wet was the response. So she sounds like she had a great time. She's actually trying to book another holiday because it was so wet. So looking forward to catching up with her when I speak to her. And generally, the Pro Day 2 games looked quite wet, and they were all pretty turgid, a lot of them. However, a game that was very wet but wasn't turgid was Biarritz v Grenoble on the Friday night. And Biarritz were really, really impressive. Not that Grenoble were bad, because they a couple of nice tries, both from kicks through by Arnabeku and another brother of a top 14 player, Wilfred Ulle, with another try, his 4th of the season, I think it is. There was, like when people say, "Oh, it's one for the purists," and they mean it's generally crap. Have you seen the Masavesi Dakawanga try in this game?
I have, yeah. It's so good.
I genuinely think that is one for the purists, because it is just a perfectly executed, very simple off the top line out move with a big unit running back hard against the line. And it's a glorious try. And he's got some serious gas as well, hasn't he? It's just so well executed. And if they can do that against Grenoble, I think that's pretty good signs for Biarritz generally. Grenoble were pretty sloppy towards the end. They scored like they conceded one of those tries, and it's like at the back of a ruck and it's like on the try line and someone just nips round. They had one of them. They had one where like it was a crossfield kick and the guy got tackled in the air, which was a yellow card, but also the ball dropped behind and then Jaminet just picked it up and dotted it down. Kylian Jaminet, I think that is. There's 3 of them. Did you know there was 3 of them?
I did not. I knew there were 2 of them.
I knew there was one knocking around in Pro de Deux. Turns out there's 2 of them knocking around in Pro de Deux. There's Dylan and Kylian. And I think Dylan is still at Nevers, or they signed Kylian from Nevers. I don't know. Go find it out yourself, listeners. But really, really strong start for Biarritz generally. Are we saying that they're back? Are they back?
I don't know if they're back, but it's a far cry from where they were last year, albeit we're not far in. I think it's great to see some big. It's the shirts. You wear a shirt that good, phenomenal. You're gonna win.
Look good, play good.
Look good, play good. It's easy.
I've already started casting my mind ahead to the possible rematch of one of the greatest games of all time. Could we get the Bayonne v Biarritz access match? Could that happen? Obviously the game with the famous penalty shootout that Stefan Armitage slots the final kick. That's not out of the question as things stand. So
just a note on Biarritz as well. I don't think it was totally in the end, but it was I think it was their highest gate for quite some time. And
it looked a lot busier on TV.
Not a million miles off a sellout, apparently, at least in the 2 main stands, which is wicked, because when we went it was pretty barren, wasn't it?
It was bloody cold, but yeah.
It was cold, but I think it was quite squalid on Thursday night as well. So yeah, I think fantastic news all around for Biarritz. Long may it continue.
And then I guess the kind of other games of real note, I think the big shock result is the Brive one, right? Like, because Grenoble sent a pretty weak team to
the manner of the result,
but Brive sent a full noise team to know, Johnson, Bosch, Laws, Van der Merwe, Murray, Ferte, Carbonneau. They all played and got soundly beaten. Really, they kind of muscled up front early on, but some of the tries and some of the play from Mont-de-Marsan is just so ferocious. Like, it's, don't know. I had when I was watching it, I had to check that I hadn't put the speed on to like 1.25, because they're just some of the acceleration from Langivalu and Wangaya. Like, when we saw Mont-de-Marsan play well last year, their Fijians were just ripping it up, and it just looked like the Fijians turned up. Like, they've got 3 units in that back line. And when they play well, they looked electric, like properly electric. So seemed to, after the dodgy start, big away win at Saxby, and then big home win, bonus point win over a team that we were convinced were basically going to crush everyone.
I think as well, Mont-de-Marsan, obviously you say they're slow start to the year, but the last 3 Pro de Deux seasons, they've been excellent. Like, they've always been top half, very hard to beat at home. And okay, they've wobbled at the start here, but perhaps they are a slightly more serious outfit than the first 3 games would suggest, which they must be, because I don't think many teams are cruising past that Brive side that easily.
No. I don't know how many games Wangaya has played this season, but he was excellent last year. That could be anyway. The other big shock. No, he has played a few games. The other big shock was, or certainly in terms of the magnitude of the result, was Oyonnax going down 38-3 at Provence. Oyonnax not sending a terrible team. Like, it had pretty much their first choice pack. Like, Kebbel played, Paolo Tafili, like, signing from Lyon played. You got Lobshanidze, international 9. Sweetenham played. Chris Smith was on the bench, but generally it was a pretty strong side. I guess the headline here is it's hard to know the parallel universe where they haven't just found out that Joel Abd is leaving at the end of the season. Because you don't, well, it was tight in the first half. So it's not like they've come out and been blown away and been blown off the park. Like it was 10-3 to Provence at half time. But they were just blown away second half. I mean, ironically, their defence was pretty sloppy. The wingers for Provence I thought were great. Leo Drouet looks tall and fast. And then the guy that's scoring a load of tries so far this season, I think he's got 4, is Adrien Lepeg, who, have you seen the second of his tries?
You might have to describe it to me. I don't know if I have.
So there's like a loop play and the replacement 10 kind of is round the loop. He grubbers through with his left foot. The ball is going into touch. He's kind of latched onto it. He's basically horizontal to the floor, diving over the touchline and just flicks out the back. Ooh. Outrageous offload. It kind of has to be seen to be, I can't quite describe it because it's it's like one of those ones that kind of slightly defies physics. And Adrien Lepeg is just there on hand to kind of run it in, but it's all about Jules Soulan, the 30-year-old replacements fly half. A few kind of old boys, kind of less heralded players have kind of had quite good weekends in Pro D2 because Saxby had a 34-year-old scrum half who barely ever plays, kind of ran the game and like completely
some lovely goals as well.
Yeah. Provence looked good. They played some really nice rugby, and that's kind of what we expect. Inga Finau scored a try, banging it through the middle, like you might expect. But it was pretty like they had a little bit of a trick tap play from like the 5-meter line, which was, I guess, had some deception in it, but it was pretty like you shouldn't be letting a tight head prop run over from a tap and go, or like just after a tap and go on your own 5-meter line.
Interesting point that. I feel like Pro D2 as a league should probably be riper for outrageous tap and go, trick plays, the Barbarians wall, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I feel like you don't see it that often. Perhaps it's I don't know. I'd like to see it make a comeback personally. I feel like that as a style of play in a league is quite a nice.
It wasn't quite a full like trick play, but it had like a kind of little bit of deception, and someone kind of straightened it up and switched it out the back, and it was very well worked, but it was pretty soft for them to concede. So Oyonnax, despite all the kind of pre-season hype that we gave them, are actually not going that well, which is interesting. Really good win, turgid game. Saxby, as I said, Emmanuel Sabus, 34-year-old scrum half, who is third choice.
Serious win that. Dax have been going so well.
Yeah, Nacera was back as well. Got a yellow card. He's looking like he had a good summer as well. Clearly, he's taken the next Rapeni Thau a little bit too to heart. Interesting one here. Saxby had a set of twins in the second row. Leo and Enzo. That's a typo. Leo and Enzo. Let's go with that. Briat is the second half of the double-bird surname. I think it's Morand Birat, but my iPad has auto-corrected it to Miranda, and I'm pretty sure they're not called Miranda. But yeah, both nice. 22-year-old second row, so that's quite cool. Dax just looked a bit sloppy, and Saxby fronted up pretty well. Valence, big first win. I think that was key. Pretty tight game, actually one of the better games in terms of rugby. No points after 60 minutes, but Argennes sent a fairly strong side. They must have fancied this. Ultimately, you could look at it on paper and say, well, Billy Searle missed 3 kicks, and those 3 conversions get you to 31, and that could have won them the game. But though the 3 he missed were all bang on the touchline. So fair enough. And he also set up 2 of the tries with some lovely play. There was a beautifully delicate weighted crossfield kick from Billy Searle as well for one of those tries. But yeah, great result for Valence. I think they kind of, Argennes a little bit sloppy. They kind of outscored them. Argennes outscored Valence 4 tries to 3. So to go down by 5 points is kind of, well, kicking and a little bit of ill discipline. Nice struggling, I think. I didn't see much from them to write home about. Try for Mathis Gaultier in this one. The nepo rugby is on the rise. He's coming.
I think the Nice in this one, they didn't score any points in the second half either, did they? Which is
they
sort
just
of
didn't have
faded a
much of an
little bit.
attack, and it's like they're trying to go pick and go, and maybe just the physicality of the step up in league is kind of proving a bit difficult for them. Rodrigo Marta looks good. I mean, we knew he was pretty good. He's an Portuguese international. But Colomiers generally have got a really young team, which is, I know they've had a pretty easy start in terms of fixtures, but they are currently second. They've done basically all they could do. One of the youngsters, 21-year-old tight head, no, loose head prop, Pierre Emmanuel Pacheco. Look out for him. Couple of really flair offloads. Looks like an absolute boy in the kind of Georges-Henri Colombe sense.
Nice.
He's an absolute unit who just looks like he's there to have a bit of fun. And Aurillac, Béziers, don't bother watching the highlights because there aren't any.
Unless you're an Aurillac player, because that's a great win for them.
Yeah, it's a good win, but Béziers is still third. So, yeah. Montauban, good win away. That's no highlights to see on that. Nevers struggling.
Yeah.
From 5.
Yeah, two sides you would, I mean, again, keep reiterating it's early on, but two sides you'd think would have had sort of reverse fortunes. Montauban have done really well considering how sloppy they looked at parts, particularly towards the end of last season. It's fair play, decent turnaround thus far. What have we got?
All the teams that I've went to see in Pro de Deux last year doing really well.
There we go.
Well, ish, but yeah.
Anything take your fancy this weekend or this Thursday and Friday, I should say?
There's not an abundance of big games. The big one is Brive Biarritz. That'll be a real test to Biarritz to go to Brive as a final game of the round. Like, can they bring out something? Or Brive, I imagine Brive will be pretty up for it after last week. Oyonnax, Colomiers, that will be the first real test for Colomiers to come up against a proper big budget, powerful team. I know Oyonnax were poor, or kind of blown off the park a little bit second half by Provence, but be interesting to see, if Oyonnax do struggle in that game, they've got some real issues, and I wonder if they'll start to just try and get rid of Joël before the end of the season, because he is there until the end of the season, and there's basically a handover with the other coaches there. You don't really want to be in limbo quite like they seem to be.
Interesting. He's well regarded though, isn't he, there? So
yeah,
might be a bit extreme, but it's France, it's French rugby. Who knows?
Local derby, Grenoble, Valence, that's the other one.
Nice. Soyo-Angoulême play Provence. That could be a good one as well.
Yeah, it could be a good one.
Soyo-Angoulême, who have lost all their home games and won all their away games thus far.
Nice.
Which is about as un-pro day dare as you could get, and enjoying it, I must say. Okay, back in a sec to wrap up with some Petit-Fours. Okay, Rob, what have you got for me? I've got to say, I think I've sort of gone a bit early. We spoke about Karim Ghazal, spoke about Luke Taggy's shorts. That was a key Petit-Four for me. Got anything else?
I guess one of the bigger news headlines. Have you got your phone on you?
I've got it near me, yeah.
Can you go on to our Instagram and go into the inbox?
Oh, God.
That'll be the next one. But one of the bigger storylines generally while you're finding that is Leicester Ganuku, a player that we've kind of said is just a top quality player, heading back to Crusaders, which is a shame for the top 14, but probably very, very good news for him and the All Blacks. I wondered if he was going to go down the Tonga route. I wondered if he was going to kind of do, just stay in France and represent Tonga, because he's obviously Tongan heritage with his dad naming him after Tonga's success in the World Cup. Right. Can you see in the inbox on our WhatsApp?
I'm just going through all these messages from A-list rugby players. We've got Dupont in here. We've got Galtier sending his best. Where do you need me to get to?
Well, there's an interesting message from a big name in the world of French rugby that you'll see in the inbox called, if I can find it, Robert Graham. It's the one at the top. But have a look at that reel and describe what you see.
Oh, I feel like I might have. Okay, so the still is of a slightly confused looking Damian Penaud. Yes. I feel like I might have seen this, but let's have a look. Okay. He is something to do with a. Oh, for fuck. Okay, so.
What is that? That's so grim.
Right. So Damian Penaud he's wearing a very nice sort of Liam Gallagher Parker jacket. He fishes something out of what looks like quite a luxurious hot chocolate, would you say?
Yeah.
What he fishes out looks like a sort of insect, but it's actually his 2 replacement front teeth. So he fishes out he fishes them out and puts them back in. And then I can't quite believe the second bit. He's the second bit, his mate whose face you can't see.
Johan Berregaray.
Is that who it is?
Yeah, I assume this is quite an old video because that would have been in their Claremont days, I reckon.
Is using said teeth to reveal if he's won the jackpot on a scratch card. On realising he hasn't won, he hands them back to Damian Penaud, who whacks him straight in his gob and continues with his own.
He doesn't even wipe them. Like, he's going to have the little silvery black like crumbs that you get once you've scratched a scratch card.
Oh my goodness me! Apparently it was his birthday. That's why that's gone out.
So that was sent to me by friend of the pod, Ollie Thorne, who was the stag on the Bordeaux stag do. It's on Canal Plus Rugby's. It's a reel on Canal Plus Rugby's Instagram if you want to go and search it out. It is quite something.
Amazing.
It took me a while to get my head around.
He looks just mad, doesn't he? What a guy. I think even if I had something brilliant.
That's an early contender for Petit-Fours Digestifs for the season, I think.
I have to get some going. I think even if I had an absolute world beater, we just have to leave it there, save it for next week because, yeah, I think I'm done after that, to be honest. Oh, right.
You can have nightmares now.
Yeah, I genuinely don't know what to say. Right, let's wrap up. Anything else? Any other? Oh,
no, that was it.
Alfie Barbary has got the same thing with his front teeth. I don't know if you saw that interview. Yeah, so
I know. I think it was Billy Burns. He used to do something similar with his eye. He had like a glass eye.
No. Yeah. That's a bit too graphic.
Yeah.
Okay, you can follow us on what, Rob?
We are at Rosbifs Rugby on Instagram, where you'll find us possibly reposting stuff like that and some other fun stuff. But we're also on X or Twitter, Threads, YouTube. I've missed one. What have I missed? TikTok, where we're gaining quite a following.
Ooh.
But yeah, give us a like, give us a subscribe, check us out wherever. Get in touch as well. You know, we want to hear from you. If you disagree with our take on anything, I'm more than willing to get into a debate and just blame it on Richard.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Okay, I've been Richard. That has been Rob. We've been the Rosbifs Rugby Podcast. We will see you next week. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.